It's the cry of a baby, the whisper in prayer. It's voices and laughter. It's the wind in the stillness and the spaces between. It's a spark of fire. Love, love, love. It's a seed, a flower, a butterfly's wing. It's a call and an answer. It's a breath, a stirring. It's the pulse in my veins, moves in as and through me. It's a knowing, it's our only design. It's eternally growing love. It's peace, it's power, connects all to one, has no end, no beginning. It's receiving and giving. I release, I let go. Divine shrugging the shoulder. Ooh,
Good morning. My name is Don Coleman, and I am a practitioner emeritus at our beloved center. So please join me in prayer. And just know with me that there's one ultimate truth, that God is all there is, in and through all things, as all things. It is divine intelligence manifesting of itself in infinite ways. And I know this truth. I know that everything that is, everything that was, everything that will be is this wonderful divine expression. And it set forth the physical and the biological and the spiritual laws that govern all there is. That the moon will wax and wane throughout its cycle forever and ever. The tides will ebb and flow. Life will beget life. And so I know I am part of this divine manifestation. I am a perfect individualized expression of the divine, having a human experience, living in this field of infinite possibilities. And I know this truth for each and every person that is hearing this prayer. I know that whether you're here in person or virtually listening, that each of us are moved to a greater expression of our divine nature. So I bless this service. I know that each of us are here to be moved by the words of the prayer, by the music, by the message, and that we're all truly blessed to be part of this wonderful community. And I know that the service unfolds in its perfection. So just knowing this, I am able to release this prayer into the aspect of God that we call spiritual law, and just let it be so. And so it is. Amen. Good morning. Here is today's affirmation from our Prayers of Wisdom and Vision book. Sorry. All right. Getting a little bit weaker.
Let me pull this up for you.
Sure. I am free in the Spirit. The wisdom of the one life is active in my life. I listen deeply to the call of wisdom that guides me to be an agent of love, open, receptive, and brave. I say yes to love and to freedom. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Don. And
Sorry.
This is Don Coleman and Brenda Coleman, both prayer practitioners at the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, and we've been dating for a very long time. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard Don use the word God. And I'll tell you why that is so alarming, because such a long time ago, I remember I was so new, and Don was in class with me, and he kept on raising his hand, and I was so new. And he said, Edward, Reverend Edward, he said, I've got a problem with the word God. I really have an issue. And I was so frustrated, I said, Don, get over it. And you know what he did? He became a prayer practitioner, and he found his own relationship with the divine and his own words. And here we are some 30 years later, and right here on the stage, he's saying the word God. Don and Brenda met at the center, and their families grew up. Their children grew up in the center. So that's why I say we've been dating a long, long time. Like many of you that I see in the audience right now, and like many of you who are watching us online, wherever you are watching from, welcome. Welcome and happy Pride Month. That's so important. Today you will see some of our AIDS Life Cycle team members wearing their jerseys. Lynn and Jerry Huffaker and Jose Mesa is there, and Marianne Granieri and Nancy Reynolds. And they're wearing them because this would be the week that we would be cycling from San Francisco to Los Angeles to raise funds for much-needed HIV and AIDS awareness and education. So we look forward to a time when we will torture our bodies, raise funds again for an excellent cause. Now, Pride Month is important because starting with the Stonewall Uprising in June of 1969, I believe it was, Pride Month has stood to honor freedom, diversity, and human dignity. And Centers for Spiritual Living and our own Santa Rosa Center for Spiritual Living stands for that. We stand with our LGBTIQ plus community, our lesbians, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, and all sexualities and sexes and genders. Because the Center for Spiritual Living stands for a world that works for everyone. So, whoever you are welcome here, even if you don't agree with us. That's fine. Now, if you are watching online, I want you to know a little secret. You know that reservations for seats close at 9 p.m. on Saturday night. But if you forget to reserve a seat, come anyway, because we often take walk-ins. Yeah, any walk-ins today? You see, they're lurking right here among us. So you're welcome here, and you're also welcome to enjoy watching service. As you know, it's available on YouTube at our new channel, also on Facebook Live, and also on our website. I can't say our newly designed website now because it's been going strong for a couple of years now, but right there on our website, you can watch our service live, and also there is an archive of our services just in case you want to go back and watch it again, and most importantly, you can share it with your friends, and you can become one of those family members who torments your other family members with your spiritual conviction. I thought that was funnier than it... Also, I want you to know that we so appreciate your support. We have moved away temporarily from, well, we've moved to a touchless form of contribution. So if you enjoy what you hear at the Center and you would like to see the Center for Spiritual Living be sustained for future generations, you'd like to see the excellent quality of work continue, I invite you to support us, not only with your prayer, not only with your attendance and your excitement, not only with your words of affirmation, but also with your financial support, so that we can continue doing this excellent work during some challenging times. You can contribute on Facebook. There is a button on our homepage at Facebook, and all of the funds come directly to the Center. There are no fees. We also have a donate button on our website, and we also very much enjoy those people who still have those things called checks. And you can write those out, and we particularly enjoy the kind words and the words of appreciation that come in the mail to us with those checks. So I thank you for your support. I also want to let you know that there is support for you after each of our services, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., online, on Zoom. We have prayer support. We have prayer practitioners like Dawn and Brenda who make themselves available in private rooms online every single Sunday after both services, so that you can spend time with somebody who will listen to you and then, through prayer, tell you the truth of your being in no uncertain terms. Isn't that wonderful? Well, we've got something wonderful for you today, a whole service, and to set the tone for it, we have more music for you. So I invite you to breathe in with me and exhale, and to know with me that somewhere between the music and the meditation and the prayers and the announcements and the message is exactly what your heart is seeking for the next step of your spiritual journey. So welcome. I'll be back in just a moment.
I'm bad at being in love, and I'm bad at being alone. Lost when I find myself without somebody's arms to call home. I need someone to make me feel valued, but it feels like I'm never enough. I wander the world half empty, hoping someone will just fill my cup. Oh, I'm perfect and broken as sand within the pearl. Hopeful and hopeless and messed up, beautiful girl. Laughter and weeping, the stillness and the storm. I'm perfect and broken. I'm learning to bend with the wind and not let the wind knock me down. Determined to stand in a wild squall, hands in the heavens, feet on the ground, 'cause I barely tapped into my strength. It's been locked up in anger and strife, but I am beauty and beast, I am famine and feast, and the love I've been searching for all of my life. Oh, I am perfect and broken, the sand within the pearl, hopeful and hopeless, messed up, beautiful girl. The laughter, weeping, the stillness and the storm. I'm perfect and broken. I'm perfect and broken, the sand within the pearl, hopeful and hopeless, and messed up, beautiful girl. The laughter, the weeping, the stillness and the storm. I'm perfect and broken. I'm perfect and broken. I'm perfect and broken.
That was Amy, and I look forward to the time that she will be right here on our stage singing to us. What a beautiful way to begin our morning. And our theme for June, which is our soul's call. Now, in the science of mind, that is the teaching here at the Center for Spiritual Living, the word soul is used in a very special way, a specialized way. So when we read the word soul in our literature and in our textbook, and especially if you're new to the center, I need to explain that the word soul in our teaching, it refers to something special. It refers to the spiritual law that governs the universe. That's what we mean. Now you can see it can cause some confusion because it is a different meaning of the word as it is used in contemporary culture outside of the center. You know, in popular culture, the word soul means a whole variety of different things. For example, it can mean that spiritual part of a person that gives them life and endures forever. You know, we can say her soul lived on in her children, for example. Or it could mean a person's emotional or moral nature. Like we could say, you know, when he recited the poem, he was bearing his soul to the class. We could say like that. Or it could mean the creative energy that comes out in a piece of art. Like, for example, the soul of that music was stirring and inspired me. Or it can refer to the embodiment of a specific quality, like the soul of a nation. We could say the soul of the Irish people is reflected in their love of family, etc. It's a different use from Science of Mind. You know, in the textbook, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, he defines the word soul as, this is good, the mirror of the mind. So your soul then, my soul then, is that part of you, that part of your spiritual being that reflects back to you the form of your thought, the content of your consciousness, the mirror of your mind. That's your soul. So maybe you've heard that phrase, what goes around comes around. That's the work of the soul. Reflecting back. Or remember that phrase from the early days of computer programming, garbage in, garbage out. Yes, that's the work of the soul. reflecting back to you. You know that phrase, garbage in, garbage out? It first appeared in a newspaper in the 50s, 1957, I think, by a computer expert working in the military, William Mellon, and he was explaining in the newspaper article that computers cannot think for themselves, right? And that sloppily programmed inputs produce sloppy results. Computer brains, he was trying to explain, cannot think for themselves, but they must reflect. They must reflect back to the user what is put into them. So if garbage is put into them, garbage comes out of them. That is the work of the soul in science of mind. That's the idea of soul in science of mind, the mirror of your mind. It's that part of us that can only work with what we give it. It can only carry out the orders given to it. That's the soul. You get it? No? A little louder? Thank you. And if you're online, please speak out to that screen. That's the soul of the mind. It's the spiritual law, and it's faithful, and it's precise, and it carries out instructions. So I needed to start that way, because this month when we talk about our soul, I invite you to think of the collective soul of all of humankind, and now it gets dark. And think about everything that we have been putting into it for centuries and generations. Because what we have been programming into the mirror of our mind, our collective soul, is being reflected back to us generations later. And frankly, there is a lot of mess to clean up from a lot of sloppy programming. This first week of John, the recommended topic for Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, we begin this month, the first week, with pushed by pain. Now, all around the world, at any given day, the pain that is being reflected back to us from the mirror of our mind is real, visceral, palpable. You might say we are dealing with mindsets in ourselves and in our ancestors that have produced unsupportable ways of life, and we are currently in the process of working through everything that is being reflected back to us, and we're trying to interrupt bad habits with new programming, with new ways of thinking. No more garbage in if we don't want garbage out. This is especially important when we hear about and learn about atrocities that have been committed across generations and nations. You know, from the Nazis and the Holocaust to the brutality of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, to the genocide of 10 million Congolese in the 1800s. 10 million. The forgotten genocide. To South Africa's apartheid. To the Tulsa Greenwood massacre. And very, very recently to the discovery of 215 bodies of indigenous children, some as young as 6 years old, found buried decades ago in the grounds of a Canadian school, where indigenous children were forced to attend, where just like in our own United States of America, there was an effort to erase indigenous identity. A discovery of this magnitude feels not only unbelievable, but unbearable. And it hurts. It hurts when our collective soul, the mirror of our mind, reveals it, exposes it, and shows the result of a worldview of systemic racism and cultural genocide. A worldview that elevates one group above another. Many people don't want to look at this reflection. They don't want to look at it. They write to me and tell me, Edward, don't talk about that. Many people want to deny that this is part of our history because of how painful the reflection is and the tendency to not self-identify or have nothing to do with it or diminish it in some way. But it's real. Imagine with me if this morning the Press Democrat reported that 215 children's bodies, some as young as 6 years old, were found buried in Annalee High School's grounds with no explanation for how they got there and no accountability for the organization in charge. What kind of programming into the collective soul can permit that? That is a painful push. Each week when we prepare for our message, our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, sends out notes to help ministers. And the notes for today say this: suppose, for a moment, we didn't deny or avoid pain, but rather embraced it as an invitation to a higher consciousness, a more profound love, and the opportunity to be even more committed to faith in action. Don't be avoidant, I get, is the message. Lean into it. Speaking in Tulsa, Oklahoma, about another tragedy, President Joe Biden became the first United States president to commemorate the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. Here's what he said: "We do ourselves no favors by pretending none of this ever happened, or that it doesn't impact us today, because it does still impact us today." The mirror of the mind. We can't pretend our past away. We can't pretend those 215 children back to their families. We can't pretend there's no pain when the reflection is so clear. Actually, indeed, it's when we acknowledge and lean into the depth of what is stirred up in us, the feelings. That is how I believe we get closer to practicing what our teaching declares. And it declares this: that there is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. And without the revealing of truth, there can be no healing. So we must ask, what is the truth here that wants to be revealed? What is the consciousness that is being called to shift in us? And how do we today lay the foundation of a world that indeed does work for all and not just for a select few? Oh, that topic today, pushed by pain. It has been said that we are pushed by pain until we are pulled forward by a vision. And when we are pushed by the kind of pain societally that we are experiencing, it seems like we're stumbling forward, dealing with one crisis after another. And on it goes until we let ourselves be raised up and pulled forward by an idea that is so large and so magnificent and so inspiring that it picks us up when we think about it, and it gives us the strength to move and to evolve. And such an idea is called a vision. And we have one. And a vision must be so large that it's not possible to imagine how it will come to pass. Like the vision of the peaceable kingdom in the book of Isaiah. I'll come back to that in a moment. It's also like the vision John described in Revelation when he said he saw a new heaven and a new earth. He saw a new reality in which the divine was dwelling in the community, among the community, bringing heaven and earth together. And he said, and there were no more tears and no more death and neither sorrow nor crying. Here's the line. For the former things will have passed away. The former things, the garbage in, the current things, the way of supremacy, the concepts of control and domination. We don't know how to make that heaven happen. It takes an act of the divine in us and through us, and it takes our faith in the divine as well as our vision of a healthy, loving world. That is what strengthens us and strengthens our trust that beyond the pain that we feel in what is being reflected back to us, beyond that is transformation. And also it requires that we continue to put better programming into our soul computer. Spiritual truth-telling is a good programming practice. Truth-telling. Your truth-telling and restorative justice practices have been a powerful healing agent for transformation across the globe. In Australia with the Aboriginals, in Canada now, and Germany, and here in the United States, and in the colonized African countries, as well as the Catholicized countries of the Americas. And these practices have allowed the acknowledgement of the pain of the past atrocities and helped communities to heal and recover. The truth will set you free. Wisdom from the 12-step program. You cannot deal with something if you don't acknowledge it's there. So this week I invite you to join me in two things. First, in your spiritual practice, include our world. So we can hold each other, we can love each other, and hold each other in our hearts with compassion as together we walk through the physical and emotional valleys of unjust death. Two, I invite you to learn more about, and perhaps you already know, the truth and reconciliation projects across the globe. You can read about them all online. Here are some examples. The National Center for Truth and Reconciliation Canada, and on their site they say they're a place of learning and dialogue where the truths of this recent residential school experience will be honored and kept safe for future generations. Or the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission of the United States of America. It's in the formation process of commissions, and they're starting with 3 pilot cities, Boston, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, so that they can process and address injustices of the past that simply did not get adequate time, attention, and dignity. Or the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa, one of the big ones. Mr. Dula Amar, the former Minister of Justice, said this about the commission. It was a necessary exercise to enable South Africans to come to terms with their past on a morally accepted basis and to advance the cause of reconciliation. It's appropriate to do this kind of work as a spiritual being or as not a spiritual being. It's appropriate because it's cleansing work, it's healing work, and it's the act of reprogramming with new wholesomeness into our collective soul for generations to come so that they will have reflect back to them a new heaven and a new earth. And it's uncomfortable work. And there's help for us. Next week, the recommended topic is lean into the discomfort. Because if humanity is to awaken to its spiritual magnificence and a world that works for everyone, then our discomfort can be our teacher and point to the ways where we aren't there yet. So individually and collectively, then surely we must dive deep into those areas where we are conflict avoidant. Politics, privilege, human rights, sexuality, planetary stewardship, and so on and so on. Because for too long we've pretended it's not part of the spiritual condition. Yes, it is. Why is it okay to talk about self-image and finances and relationship and accommodation and jobs, but not the things that really matter? Because it's painful. Week 3, the recommended this topic is, what's evolution without love? And that's where we're going to look at, what is societal progress without love? What is political or economic progress when you take love out of it? And we'll look at the evolutionary leap that is possible when we activate the love of the divine in us as we walk in the world. And then week 4, the topic is the soul's call to freedom. And that's all about recognizing the divine in ourselves and developing a profound trust in the underlying wholeness and sacredness and innate goodness of being, and then live from that and to radiate it so clearly and so beautifully, even in the midst of the painful transformations that must happen as we watch what is being reflected back to us, because society needs more from us than the pursuit of happiness. It needs beings who know the inherent goodness in their bones, and who from that innate goodness are strong and wise and forgiving and flexible and courageous and teachable. Because when we program the mirror of our mind from that high state of consciousness, what our soul hears will be reflected back to us in the form of a pathway to a new heaven and a new earth. Now, earlier I mentioned Isaiah, the prophetic vision in the book of Isaiah of a peaceable kingdom, which I love because it points to something that is so unlike what we have now that it boggles the mind. It challenges us. It stretches us to even accept the vision or even to imagine it, while at the same time it is exciting. Because it touches and resonates with something so innocent in us. Even though we may not know the way to get there yet, it pulls us forward. The words in Isaiah describe a vision of a world in which the wolf shall live with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion together. And a little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall graze together. Their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw just like the ox, while nursing children shall play safely near a snake's den. And young ones will be near a crocodile's den without fear. And here's the line: because they will not hurt or destroy each other on all of my holy mountain. Because the earth will be full of the knowledge of holiness as sure as the water covers the sea. Impossible. It's not possible. But oh, so stirring. It speaks to something. For me, the vision of the global vision of Centers for Spiritual Living in our movement is the same thing. It's just another way of describing a peaceable kingdom. It's just another way of singing Paul McCartney's John Lennon's Imagine. It's just another way of, what's that other song? Wanting to build the world a home and furnish it with love. We're not the first people to imagine a world free of homelessness, where we don't let our differences separate us, where beauty and aesthetics are important, where spiritual guidance is valued, where oneness is the reality. And we must continue to imagine. We mustn't give up. We must continue to have confidence and trust that we are reprogramming our collective soul with this vision of genuine love for one another, and to trust that it can and it will pull us through a world of differences. We must not give up on imagining a world where there are no more tears and no more racially motivated deaths, and neither sorrow nor crying, because the former will have been displaced and passed away because of the commitment that we have to reseeding consciousness with thoughts so high that it transforms our collective soul. For our spiritual practice today, I invite you to enjoy the words of our global vision. So I invite you to breathe in and to exhale, letting your eyes close. We envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of the divine. We see a world in which each person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with the divine and connection with each other. We see a world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We envision humanity awaking to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where each person discovers their power and their ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for all. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the connectedness of all life. A world where kinship with all life prospers and connects. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors. We envision a world where each person has enough food and a home and a sense of belonging. A world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a world in which resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is generous and continuous sharing of these resources. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness is the norm. We envision a world that has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. We envision a world that works for all. I invite you to sit in quiet contemplation with me for a few moments. And let the next breath you take be deeper than the one before, so that as we exhale together, we make a transition to be present in the room, not that you were absent, but to be available to what happens next in the room. And what happens next is our community building announcements, where we hear about what is available online and otherwise for our community so that we may stay together and stay informed. If something catches your attention in the announcements, please know that it's all available online, beautifully formatted by our webmaster, Ellen Yeager, for your reference at any time you want to access it. After the announcements, we'll have our benediction, and then I will give you instructions for how we will leave. And if you've been here before, you know it's super easy. So let's enjoy our community building announcements now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Randy Coleman, a member of the Board of Trustees. I'm happy to be sharing some announcements with you today. This afternoon, Full Circle gathers on Zoom for education, spiritual support, conversation, and resources about death and dying. Everyone is welcome. Join the conversation at 1 p.m. There is still time to sign up for Reverend Siota's class, Building a Healing Consciousness, that begins on Saturday, June 12th. Later this summer, Dr. Kim and Reverend Tara also have classes. Details are on our website. This Wednesday, June 9th, there is a special lunchtime program on Juneteenth, what it is and why it matters. Go to our website for more details on the program from noon to 1 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and thank you so much for being part of our amazing spiritual community.
Is there something about yourself you'd like to heal? Your work, your family, your relationship, your health, our country, this planet. I'm Reverend Siota Belle, and on June 12th, my class, Building a Healing Consciousness, begins. Together, we'll develop greater awareness of the sacred presence of the Divine One within us. That is our greatest healing ability. And then we'll turn that into an everyday healing consciousness. Class meets from 9:30 to 11:30 for 8 weeks on Saturday. I hope you can join me.
Hello, I'm Claire Victor, a prayer practitioner emeritus here at the Center, but I also work with sound as a healing vehicle. Now, in Science of Mind, we teach that healing is a revelation of wholeness, that which is already within us, around us, and through us. But if you're like me, sometimes the stress of day-to-day living can get my mind going a mile an hour, and I forget to come home to my compassionate heart. So using Tibetan sound bowls and my crystal sound bowls and an array of other instruments, this is your invitation to practice some compassionate self-care. I'll be using guided meditation and chakra healing and creating this place where we can drop under the stress of our noisy minds into that place of deep repose, rest, to relax and recalibrate the nervous system, so to say. So I hope that you can join us, and I look forward to meeting you there. Namaste.
That was beautiful, that sound. Oh my goodness, I feel already meditated. I want to thank you for being here. I want to acknowledge our crew of volunteers and staff and our technicians in the booth who work tirelessly so that we can have a hybrid in-person and online experience. Thank you all very much. After the benediction, we'll have one more closing song, and then we will exit one row at a time through these doors, very easy to access. And for those who are waiting to be called, we will scroll some community comments on the screen to inspire you further. So I invite you now to place your hand on your heart if you feel called to do so, and to know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are. That you have only to look within at any moment to know that you are guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything that we do and say and think, we honor this presence of wholeness within. And together we say, and so it is. I'll see you next week. Please enjoy the remainder of the service.
Here I stand at the water's edge, watching the river run through. And as she flows on, she twists and she turns, no telling what that river might do. Bravely she moves, not knowing knowing what's ahead, not knowing what awaits in the end. Just like her, I follow my road, not knowing what's around the next bend. Oh, 'cause I am deep and I'm wild and I'm strong. I am blessed with a place to belong. I can be counted on to always deliver, just like the river. Here I stand, my face in the wind, looking at the mountainside. That mountain peak seems so far away, so far into a climb. One inch at a time, that mountain she rises, reaching for her higher view. Just like her, I reach for my goals, and I reach to find my dream come true. Whoa. 'Cause I am beautiful, majestic, and wise. I stand strong between the earth and the skies. I am a place to refuel and start again, just like a mountain. Here I stay, clothed in insane, listening to the ocean move. Drawn by the moon, singing out to that ocean, she's got nothing to prove. The ocean is deep, the ocean is wild, reaching for a higher view. Just like her, I shift and I move, each crashing waves of life made new. Whoa. I am as constant as the swelling tide. I believe there's nothing about me that I need to hide. I am alive, that is always in motion, just like the ocean. Just like her, reaching far beyond my view.